Round robin algorithm is one of CPU scheduling algorithms which is quite important and effective in terms of scheduling. And it is pretty much different from other scheduling algorithms. So how it is different? Firstly, it purely works with primitive scenario, right? We cannot allot the resources to one single process for all the time. So this is one criteria of round robin scheduling. So in this we work with primitive concept. So how this preemption works? So we first fix the time slot for which we are going to offer the resources, right? So here in this particular algorithm, a small unit of time is been allocated, which is known as time slice or quantum. It is defined priorly, and then the ready queue works like circular queue. All processes in this algorithm are kept in the circular queue, also known as ready queue. So each new process is added to the tail of the ready or circular queue. So by using this algorithm, CPU makes sure time slices are assigned to each process in equal portions of time in a circular order. And dealing with all processes without any priority, it is also known as cyclic execution. So the CPU scheduler goes around to ready queue, allocating the CPU to each process for that specific interval of time, and then preempt in a way, right? So when a process is executed for given time period, that process is preempted and other process executes for that given period. And continuous context switching is been done in this particular scheduling. Taking an example, let's see one example for this. So in this example, we have 4 processes with certain burst time. And burst time, as we know, is what? Execution time for that process. Like we have P1 with 21 burst time, P2 with 3, P3 with 6, and P4 with 2. So here we have set the quantum time. Quantum time here we have is suppose it's 5. So the quantum time here we have is 5 that we have decided, that is pre-assumed. So that means we will provide the CPU to each process one by one in a sequence of first come first serve for 5 seconds, let's say, right? So firstly, we will provide CPU to P1. It have arrived first in the system. So P1 will get the CPU for 5 seconds. Then after 5 seconds, whether it have completed its execution or not, the CPU will be preempted and will allocate it to another resource. So after 5 seconds, we'll take off the CPU from P1 and provide it to P2. So since P2 is having burst time of 3, it will execute for 3 seconds and then it will itself release the CPU before the quantum time. So after 3 seconds, it will release the CPU and then it will reallocate it to P3. For P3 will get the CPU for 5 seconds only because the quantum time is 5. After 5 seconds, it will again be printed off and provided to the next one, which is having 2 burst time. For 2 seconds, it will execute and then it will release, which is again provided to P1 for 5 seconds. Then it will again be printed off and then we will provide it with the next left process. P2 is done with its execution, so it will goes to P3. So P3 is left with 1 second of execution, so it will get the CPU for 1 second and then release it, and again it goes to P4. Since P4 have done with the execution, it will again goes to P1. So it will be allocated to P1 for 5 seconds and then it will reallocate to P1 because all other have completed their execution and P1 is left. So it will again be reallocated to P1 for 5 seconds and then so on. So this way round robin algorithm works. We have the quantum number, either it is given or you can assume it. Then we have certain processes, then we have burst time. So according to quantum time, the CPU will be allotted to each process one by one, then it will be printed after the quantum time and reallocate to someone else, right? So once we have created this Gantt chart, then we can easily compute the average waiting time. So what would be the average waiting time now? What is the waiting time of P1? What is the waiting time of P1? It's 0 because first response it got at 0, right? Plus the next response it got at 15 after the completion of 5 seconds. So it's 15 minus 5. Plus next response it got at 21 seconds after certain completion at 20. Then afterwards, it got the next response immediately at 26 seconds, and 26 is the completion of first provided. So 26 minus 26 remains 0. 31 minus 31 remains 0. So we are not going to mention this. So the waiting time here will be 11. Right? So P1's waiting time will be 11. P2's waiting time is 5. P2 got the response at 5th second and completed its execution at once. And P3's execution time is P3's execution waiting time is 8 minus 8 plus 20 minus 13. And at this point, it have completed its execution and have never allocated CPU again. So what is the waiting time of P3 now? It's 15 Then what is the waiting time of P4? What is the waiting time of P4? So it's 13, it have allocated first at 13 and completed its execution at once. So what will be the average waiting time? What will be the average waiting time? It will be 11 plus 5 plus 15 plus 13 divided by 4. Right? So what would be the result? It's 11. So average waiting time is 11 here. So this is about round robin algorithm, how it works. So you can note down this assignment for your self practice. We have 4 processes with certain arrival time and burst time. So you have to calculate its average waiting time, average turnaround time, and throughput using first come first serve, shortest job first, and round robin algorithm. The next algorithm, scheduling algorithm we have is multi-level queue scheduling. So in this algorithm, when processes can be ready, categorized, then multiple separate queues can be established, right? So each implementing whatever scheduling algorithm is most appropriate for that type of job, or with different parameter adjustments. For example, a common division is made between foreground, that is interactive processes, and batch processes. So these two type of processes have different response time, and so they may have different scheduling needs. So multi-level scheduling algorithm partition the ready queue into several separate queues. The processes are permanently assigned to one another based on some property of processes, such as memory size, process priority, process type, and so on. So each queue has its own scheduling algorithm. It is possible that for system processes, we are implementing it with priority queue. For interactive, we are implementing it with first come first serve, and for background, we are implementing it with maybe round robin. So we can opt for any of the algorithm at different level. The only thing here to be considered is we have different priority for each level, right? So like for system processes, these are considered at the most important and the priority will be high. And we have another level like interactive processes, we have batch processes and background. So they have a different level of priorities. Each queue has absolutely different priority over another. So no process in batch queue, for example, could run unless the queues for system processes, interactive processes, and the other are empty. So if an interactive editing process enters the ready queue while a batch process was running, the batch process would be preempted. So what actually is the advantage of multi-level scheduling? So as the processes are permanently assigned to a queue on entry or to the system, so this setup has lower scheduling overheads because we are not into the phenomena of context switching. So no records, relevant records, or maybe the state of the process or the intervene outputs needs to be maintained. So it actually lower down the scheduling overheads and we can overcome uh, with this problem to maintain overheads in another scheduling algorithms. So once it is assigned in one queue, it will be there and it will be executed there only. No further scheduling or context switching will be done. There is definitely disadvantage of multi-level queues also. Some processes may starve for CPU if some higher priority queues are never becoming empty. Starvation is the major issue which lies here. That means one process who is not getting the chance to get the resources may be waiting for a long period of time, and it is there is no chance that it will get the resources in the coming time as well. So it will give a rise to the situation of starvation. So this is the problem we have to face for multi-level queues. Maybe the lower priority queues are never getting the chance to get the resources and get their execution done, and they are waiting for very long. And it is quite inflexible. Once the job is been assigned to one queue, it remain there. It cannot switch. It cannot goes up or down in the priority level. So it is quite inflexible. The next very important scheduling algorithm we have is multi feedback queue. So when we are talking about multi-level feedback queue scheduling, it actually established to overcome the problems that were faced in multi-level programming. It gives preference to short jobs. It performs the input output bound processes, and it separate like processes. It categorize the processes based on their need for the processor. Definitely the upper queue is with high priority and lower with the lowest. So As in multi-level queue scheduling algorithm, processes are permanently assigned to queue when they enter the system. And if there are separate queues for background and foreground processes, for example, for processes that do not move from one queue to another, since processes do not change their foreground or background nature. In multi-level feedback queue scheduling algorithm, we allow the processes to move from one queue to another as and when it is required. It uses many ready queues associated a different priority with each queue, right? So the idea is to separate processes according to the characteristics of the CPU burst. So maybe we are implementing round robin in first two queues, and both the queues having different quantum number. So those processes whose quantum number is less than or equal to 8 will complete their execution at first level only. Those who are long in execution will transmit it to next queue, which is having huge quantum number. So there is a chance, there is a possibility that if the task is not completed at first level, it will get definitely completed at the second level. So for some reason, maybe the burst time is quite high. So in that case, the process will be shifted to the lowest level, and there we have implemented first come, first serve, so that it will get the resources, it will get the CPU for as long period as it required so that the completion can be done. So it actually prevents the problem of starvation, right? So those who are waiting for pretty long to get the resources can get the resources at definitely for, at the lower level, that is where we have implemented first come first serve. So there are various advantages of multi-level feedback. That is, it is more flexible. We can switch into the queues, various level of queues. It allows the processes to move between different queues. A process that waits too long in lower queue would be moved to the higher priority queue. So it can be configured to match a specific system under design. In spite of all these advantages, we have disadvantage of this as well. It requires some means of selecting values for all the parameters to define the best scheduler. So although we have different levels of queues, it is a challenge to decide which algorithm would be most suitable at every queue. So we need to spend a pretty much time in deciding which algorithm to use at what level, and what would be the mix of algorithms. Like in this example, we have uh, implemented round robin and first come first serve at different levels with different quantum numbers. So for different tasks, the needs would be different. So we have to consider the needs as well. And moving the processes around the queues produces more CPU overheads. When we are switching the processes from one queue to another queue, definitely we have to maintain the records too long. So there are overheads which would involve, and we have to maintain these overheads also, which ultimately makes it complex. So it is the most complex scheduling algorithm. Fine. So with this, we are done with our CPU schedulings. We have discussed all the scheduling algorithms, which includes first come, first serve, short as job first, priority scheduling, round robin, multi-level queue scheduling, and multi-level feedback queue scheduling. right? So if anyone wants to ask anything, please ask.